If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
Hey everyone, it's Melanie Johnson. Welcome to another publishing, writing, and all good things that go with you becoming an author is right here at the Elite Publishing Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. I'm one of the founders of Elite Online Publishing, where we're known for making authors bestsellers. And I'm here with my co-founder, Jen Foster.
Hey everyone, how's it going today?
Hope you're having a great day today. So today we're talking audiobooks. Audiobooks have changed a little bit over the years of the different options that you have that you can do. We're having the owner of Ottawa Audio, Allegra Bandy, joining us today. And we're going to take a deep dive into audiobooks. So welcome. Thanks, Allegra.
Thanks so much for having me, Jen and Melanie. This is great. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started into audiobooks.
So here in Oakland, California, I was working for the Center for Investigative Reporting, building out recording studios with them. And the first studio, I wanted to have a project that was kind of outside of the organization and develop my skills in audio engineering, and approached a friend of mine who was a published author. And at that time, that was back in 2010. So, back then, Audible, which is owned by Amazon, had their own DIY platform, which is called ACX. And at that time, that was the only real outlet for people to be able to publish their own audiobooks on. And of course, at that time too, everyone had an iPhone, right? Or everyone had a mobile phone by that point, and the technology had developed into at a point where everyone could download and stream from their phone. So, I was like, oh, well, this seems like a really fun adventure. My friend said yes. Her and her co-author said yes, and got them in the studio and recorded them, and they did an amazing job. And that book is still doing well to this day. And so since then, I've recorded a bunch more of their books, and word has spread. And, now I just finished building my 4th recording studio, which is now my own studio, which is great, here in Oakland, California. And so now, I pretty much work with authors who want to narrate their own books, right? And mostly nonfiction titles, so that it's a lot more doable, I think, for authors who are writing personal development, personal memoirs, business development, stuff with a lot of personal stories in it for the authors to be able to narrate that themselves, right? So, you can get an actor to come in and do, try and tell their story, but really, there's nothing like having a story read or narrated in the author's voice where it's so personal. You can hear their personality, you can hear their sense of humor, you can hear their trauma and sadness in places where an actor might not necessarily be able to convey that into the mic. So that's partly of what I do and why I do it.
So why do you think audiobooks are important for an author to have an audiobook? Because some of them are like, well, I'll just do the regular ebook, paperback, or maybe a hardback book. And why do you think it's important for an author to produce an audiobook?
Well, I think it's important for every single book that comes out to have an audio version of it. Well, granted that it doesn't have like a ton of graphics and images that the text references, but I feel like you're just able to cast a wider net, right? There's so many opportunities now because of the technological developments that we have with our phones, our mobile devices, right? Where you're able to capture and stream and download all this different content. And so you're really able to, when you produce an audiobook, you're able to cast that wider net of and engage more people in your message and your content. So, I've been hearing a lot more lately of the phrase having a book nowadays is like having a business card, right? So, and I know you guys work with a lot of folks, a lot of speakers, a lot of professionals who are trying to get a book out, right? To just establish their or to help them establish themselves as a thought leader in their industries, right? So
Mhm.
getting that book out, super necessary, but then also, hey, you're going to need to have it in ebook form as well, right? Have it available for folks to pull up to swipe left or whatever and read your content that way. I know I have friends who actually will get the ebook or the hard copy and the audiobook and listen and read along, right? We have so many different learners out there. And for me, like I just make audiobooks, right? I actually like to turn a page and that's how my brain processes things. I'm also a professional musician. So, I have a lot of my own idiosyncrasies, but it's important to have, right, that other outlet for folks. Like I just got my mom hooked up with Audible yesterday morning. Oh my gosh. We're sitting at her kitchen table and she's like, okay, so now what, I have this iPad and I want to get an audiobook. And I'm like, okay, what listening, what are you going to listen to it on? Trying to move her towards not watching television, like,
Mhm.
nonstop.
Yeah.
She's older, and
Something
I
else.
understand, like, a lot of folks, who are older like to have the TV on, makes them feel like there's somebody else home
It
besides
is a
them.
habit. I still do that. I feel like, okay, it's the end of the day. I need to put the TV on. I go to my son's house who's 23. They never have the TV on. They're
Yeah.
just sitting with their devices. And I'm like, it's so quiet in here. They're like, we don't
Yeah.
need the TV. And they don't even have music with Alexa. It's funny.
Yeah, I know for me as a business owner and I'm busy and I'm running around, when I'm working out or when I'm driving is when I want to consume content or listen to an audiobook. But I
Exactly.
do also like the physical book. I like to hold a book. I like to read the pages. But that's why I really do like what you were talking about earlier. On Amazon, they call it Whisper Sync. And it's if you
Yes.
have the Audible and you have the book, then you can read along with the Audible, which I think visual people who are visual but also auditory, it works really well for them because they can really hone in on focus. And I think the younger kids today with their swiping all the time, focusing and having the audio and the visual can help you consume and understand the content more.
Oh, totally. Like literacy development, right? That I can only imagine, right, is helping kids, helping people to learn how to read a lot faster, right? I remember having those kind of books, right? The books on tape where you had the hard copy and you had like the cassette tapes
Mhm.
that, and they would chime, right? There would be a chime to like
Yeah.
turn the page. Yeah.
And somebody
Let's
wanted
talk
to know,
about equipment for a minute. Like if you were
Mm.
going to record your own audiobook, what's the first thing you need to do in equipment? I'm noticing you have an awesome microphone there. Unfortunately, my son took my microphone, so I'm just using my computer audio. But you can hear the difference between Allegra's voice and my voice and how well her microphone is picking her voice up. I don't know, Melanie, do you have your microphone with you or did your son
no, I
take
don't
yours
have my
too?
microphone on either because I get lazy and I don't want to pull it out, which is
Okay.
terrible.
Well, I know you've had a few microphones because I think your son takes your microphone too. So
Yeah. And
I
then I
know my
take turns
headphones
and
I
then I
bought
don't.
that are similar to yours,
Yeah.
Allegra. My son took those too. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh
but
boy.
tell us about the equipment.
Yeah, so, after all these years of recording in different spaces, right? I have found that there really is no substitute for a studio. Like I am in my studio right now, and we've put a lot of effort and money into building this out in the last year. Like, this is a brand new studio here in Oakland, California, the Hummingbird Hut, which we've fondly nicknamed it. But right now, I'm on a Shure SM7B that is connected to a warm audio WA2MPX dual channel tube mic preamp, right? So there's some gain boost here, which is good. So because this mic takes a lot of juice, right?
So I just want to say we have a transcript that goes along with all of our podcasts. So all of that, you're like, oh my gosh, what did she just say? It'll be in the transcript. So you'll have that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we just got this mic and I love it. We just got another one because I was like, babe, so me and my husband, we share this studio too. He's also a musician and we love this mic. So far, so good. But we have a bunch of other mics. I've been using the RE20. That was like, kind of an industry standard voice of God type microphone that also takes a lot of juice, right? To have a good preamp to back that up. And then we feed that all the signal into our interface, which is a Universal Audio Apollo 8, or is it Apollo 16? No, Apollo 8, which we've found works really well. So, the equipment needed, right? You have your regular microphones that has the signal and turns that signal into a digital signal that feeds then into your computer, right? So having all that set up, it only works as well as the room that you're recording it in.
So
Right.
what if someone like can't come to you, right? Do they need to find a studio? Do you recommend like either they have to, if they're not from California, your area, they'd have to either fly in or they'd have to find a studio that's in their area, maybe send you the files. Like we've done that before with our authors. They send us the files and then we clean them all up and get them ready to publish. What do you recommend?
So for me, because it's super important for me to be present in whatever studio we're working in, I will find a studio that's close to the clients that could patch me in via Zoom during the recordings. So, it's all about getting the best performance possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so for me to make sure that I'm hearing what we need for the audiobook. So we'll find a studio that they can work out of. Although, California is beautiful. Oakland, California is gorgeous. It's a beautiful sunshiny day today and warm in the wintertime. No snow
Like
here.
providing like a vocal coach along the way or audiobook coach that's alongside of you to making sure, did that sound good or did that not sound good? Or they hear something, oh, you didn't pronounce that clearly. Let's go back and do that again. It's no different than like a producer in the box when you're recording music.
Well, exactly. So I'm in there in the studio saying, I want you to think about such and such. Let's read this paragraph again. Let's
Mhm.
hear that again. Or, you missed this word. Did you mean to be plural there? Like that kind of stuff. But I do send my clients, I make sure that they see acting coach before we even get into the studio. It's super important that they're practicing, right? They're practicing reading out loud, all their work, but it's also important to get some help, a little bit of coaching. So I recommend an acting coach for them to see, get in at least a couple of hours in with them to help prep their manuscript. If there are any other character voices that they might need to develop or check in on, that coach will help them with that. Right.
That's
So,
really good.
Yeah.
yeah. So by the time that they get into the studio with me, they're set, they're ready to go. Right. Being in front of a microphone can be a little daunting for folks if they haven't done this before. Right.
Yeah.
Because it is a performance, but you're not performing in front of a whole audience. So it's a little different, right? It's not necessarily whispering, but talking into
Mhm.
someone's ear.
Yeah. You're talking, that is another approach. It's like, yeah,
You're
it's different
having
than,
that very intimate conversation and that
yeah.
very intimate storytelling. Yeah.
What do you think about AI? So Jen and I have discovered and offered, we now offer it for our authors that we can do samples of their voice and get enough of a large enough sample. And then AI will record the rest of the book in their voice without them having to go to a studio or anything. So usually it takes about 30 minutes to get enough sample of their voice. So opposite of what you're saying, but that's, technology.
That's technology. Yes, for sure. Getting a voice is interesting. Yeah, that is, it's science. It is there. If you want to sound like a telephone, I don't know, the answering service, right? I don't know. To me, like I mentioned before, right? In someone's story, their pacing, right? Their tone of voice, their sense of humor,
Mhm.
right? Their sadness is not going to come through in that robot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, unless, and I don't know if it'll identify it. I know Dan Kennedy has done his book. I think the one
Dan
thing that's
Sullivan.
missing, or Dan Sullivan, I think the one thing that's really missing is the extra story. So you get a little bit of leeway with an audiobook that you can be like, oh, this isn't in the book, but this just
Totally.
came to my mind that blah, 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 blah happened.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's the one thing that you don't get with someone else's voice or an AI voice that you get when you do it yourself, that you can add that impromptu information.
Totally. The bonus content,
Yeah,
right?
little bonus content. So I think that's one of the things that people miss out on. But then there's also the part where I think it's the fear of being that intimate voice in someone's ear, is that they don't, like, they have their book out, but then their audiobook keeps going to the bottom of their list all the time. Oh yeah, I got to get to the audiobook. Oh yeah, I got to get to the audiobook. And you're like, just get to the recording studio. But I think having someone alongside of them, like a coach that's doing it and saying, I'm coming in with you, I'm going to listen to it the whole time and get it scheduled and let's do it, I think can make a difference and get them over the edge.
Totally. So I want to speak to that, right? Taking the time out to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
I usually book 4 to 5 hour recording sessions, right? And that's including lots of breaks, right?
Yeah.
Walk around the block breaks, go out in the garden and breathe breaks, whatever. But if someone's ready to narrate, we can usually knock out about 100 pages in a session. So,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how long your book is, right, try and figure out that's about what you want to try and get done in a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, 250-page book on average we'll have like 3 sessions,
Mm-hmm.
right? My first client in this studio came all the way from Alberta, Canada. You know, she was like, I want to come read my book. Yes, let's do it. She is super fiery, awesome. Shannon Mondor, she is awesome. Um, her book was called How in the Hell Did I Get Here? Forever Changing the Genetic Blueprint. And it's all about her experiences getting over alcoholism in her family and how she was able for herself to also move past that in her
Mm-hmm.
life. And super inspiring. And she's got a TED Talk out now. And yeah,
Oh,
she's doing big things. But she, it was just tickled me pink that she was like, "Oh yeah, I'll come to Oakland. That'll be free. That'll be
make
fun."
it
So,
done deal.
you
Well, it's good
know,
to know the timeline too of how long it takes to give someone's expectations set up.
oh sure. I usually tell clients by the time that we start recording, like the recording process, the time that we finally get into the studio and start knocking this out, it takes approximately 3 months to get that product out to market, right?
Mhm.
So the recording, the editing, portion of it, and then publishing. And that publishing part, right, getting up to the distributors and all of them taking their own sweet time.
Let's
Right?
talk about the distributors for a minute. So, and also first, let's talk about the editing, because I think authors who record themselves like in their closet at home think that they can just record and then upload the WAV files, but that's not how it works. So, talk about the editing a little bit, because I think a lot of people think it's not as technical as it is, and it is a little technical. So
Sure. Yeah. So when we record, I record directly into Pro Tools, which is my digital audio workstation software. I take that, the raw files, and I usually do through records, right? So each chapter has its own track, do three records. And that means, like, if there's a or, anything that happens while they're recording, tape is still rolling, right? So
Mhm.
they'll jump in and redo and do whatever they need to do on the mic. So get that. Then that goes to one of my uh, first cut editors. They chop it up, put it all in order for me, right? Send me those tracks back. They also run it through Positron. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Positron, which is an awesome online software that you can upload your audio and upload your text, right? And it matches it up and tells you, like, what was mispronounced, what is missing, what was added, that kind of stuff. So really interesting technology. We love that. So getting that process done, then all that comes back to me. It's all chopped up and put in place. Then I go through it and mix and master it. So, and that also includes a lot of the mouth noise cleanup and phrasing, like double checking all the phrasing and timing of it. And then that's pretty much my editing process. And then getting it up to uploading it, right, finally to our distributors. We distribute on over 36 different online streaming and downloading retailers. And we also distribute to Overdrive, which is the library systems. So folks are then able to check out an audiobook. Yeah, what else?
yeah, well, that's great. And I think it's important to be in more than one place. Or with Audible, if you say, I only want to be on Audible, then you're really only on Amazon and Audible. So I think it is important to be on libraries and Barnes and Noble and,
Mhm.
Walmart, Kobo, and Hoopla, and all of those. Like, it's
All of
really
that,
important to be all of them.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been wonderful having you on our show today and diving deep into audiobooks and giving people an idea of, AI versus doing your own and having the quality mic and having emotion in there and just the importance of having an audiobook. We really firmly believe that if you're going to do a book, and if you're in the position to be able to have all formats of your book is really important because people consume in different ways. And it's nice to be able to have it in all the different ways it's available. That means you're reaching different audiences. You're not limiting your audience because there's a lot of, especially young people, that they're just not picking up a physical book. They want the audiobook. And if it's not an audiobook, you've missed that sale, and not just the sale of the book, but maybe the sale of a customer, especially for a nonfiction book that's going to buy your products or services by getting to know you. So thanks so much for coming today, Allegra. We really appreciate it. Tell
Thank-
people where they can find you.
Thanks so much for having me. You can find me at ottawaaudio.com or ottawapublishing.com or ottawaproductions.com. Either one of those. We are like moving Ottawa Publishing to Ottawa Audio, in the process of that name change right now. But you can also find me at Allegra at ottawaproductions.com. That's my email.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll put that up in the show notes so people can get a hold of you.
Awesome.
Terrific. Thanks for coming today. We hope you learned something about audiobooks. And remember, we do everything about publishing. If you're thinking about writing a book, you've already written a book and need to help with marketing or becoming a bestseller, that's what we're known for. So reach out to us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great week, everybody. Keep writing. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.